It's the run to the line. Workman's off the track. He's got all 4 Michelin's over the white line. He's defending.
Everything interesting happens off the racing line.
Welcome back to Off the Racing Line. I am your host, Carlos Espitia, and with me, as always, my co-host, Mike Moore. How are you, man?
Great, Hefe. How are you?
Doing all right.
Very
Hey, this
good.
is episode 30.
We've made it to our 30s.
Can you believe it?
That's fantastic.
And to help us celebrate episode 30, we have a fantastic guest coming in. Our guest has seen motorsports from both sides of the wall. First as a pro driver in open wheel and GT3, and later as the man running Ferrari North America's motorsports driving programs and racing school. He lived the sport as a racer, a coach, and a decision maker inside one of the most exclusive racing ecosystems in the world. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on Ferrari Challenge, luxury amateur racing, and the uncomfortable truth about where money, access, status, and real driver development collide. With us today is Tony Qian.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Flying in from New Jersey here for the Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah, in town for Miami F1, so thought I'd stop by. Thank you guys for the invite.
Excellent.
Yeah, man. So let's cover how we got here, right? So a couple episodes ago, we had Charles Espenlaub, and I kind of jokingly, made a question about whether, rich people cosplay as racers in some of the racing series. And that one clip just lit a dumpster fire on Instagram. And so you answered the call. You actually reached out to us and you said, hey, I want to come in and talk about that.
I got to defend my people here. What's up with that?
Yes.
My former people's.
Former people, right?
Yeah.
Throwing shade.
So it was, it actually worked out because I was like, yeah, Tony, let's do it. And, we went back and forth a little bit to try to figure out a good date for you to come in. And then I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. So let's jump right into it. How true is that statement when it comes to Ferrari Challenge?
In terms of cosplaying?
Yes.
There is a degree, I think, of cosplay you could say. Most of those drivers are highly successful business people, business owners, family money, etc. But I think for most people who are into racing, into motorsports, if you could do it, you would too.
Yeah. Is Ferrari Challenge first and foremost a racing series or a luxury customer ecosystem built around racing?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes is the answer. Probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yeah, I would probably agree with you there. It is fully IMSA sanctioned with licensing and whatnot. IMSA officials run all the weekends and are the race directors and whatnot.
Right.
But it is so much more than just what happens on the track. There's a lot of events that go around each weekend. There's a whole process of getting to it with building an ecosystem. And I do think one of the biggest benefits in terms of being a part of it is having that kind of network and super exclusive club. I've seen some crazy business deals happening over just dinner with two guys that just happened to meet at a race weekend. So
there's a lot more to it than just the racing component.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And to be clear, I mean, we say this half in jest, right? It's not like even those people that are out there that perhaps have more money than talent, it's not like they're awful, right? I mean, they're still highly capable drivers. They may be better than 98% of the public, but to be the pros are better than 99.98% of the public.
Right. And we're going to get into how that happens, right? Because, yes, we joke about it, but they're not just thrown out there into the wolves. Like, these aren't people that just are learning how to do this. So we're going to dive into those details. At what point does a wealthy amateur stop being a tourist and become a real driver? Like, when do you think that happens?
That's an interesting question. I think for me, it's when you get a proper like IMSA or FCCA or FIA license.
Right.
You've made the commitment to, instead of, hey, I'm going to go show up in my weekend track day, you've made the commitment to get with a sanctioning body, participate in full season or at least a couple races that travel. Yeah, I think I'd go with that.
What would you say the critics get wrong about that world?
I think a lot of people think it's just rich people cosplaying. Going back to your original how we got here, right?
Right.
But we do have drivers that raced in Ferrari Challenge, went through the whole process, won at Ferrari Challenge, and then have gone on to IMSA GT3, racing at Le Mans. Properly quick, borderline professional drivers, I would say. Yes, they're probably still the gentleman driver on their team in those series, but I've seen it when one of those drivers be within half a second of one of the factory drivers all night at the Daytona 24, and we're going, James Collado, you better watch out for your job security there.
You trained that driver well then. Let's talk a little bit about you. Before you were on the business side of Ferrari, you were a racer yourself. And that matters because that means that you're not just talking about this world from the outside. So let's dive into that. You were a pro driver at 23.
I stopped at 23.
You stopped at 23. Did you feel like, what did you race exactly?
Mostly karts and then a little bit of open wheel. So a couple series, Formula Atlantic, Formula Mazda, Formula Atlantic, Formula Mazda, US 5000. Did one race in prototype lights, couple races in various GT3, Grand Am. Nothing. I've never had the budget or the funds to put together a full season in any single category. Right. I was taking whatever I could get.
Okay. At what point did you realize your future in motorsport might be stronger outside the cockpit than inside of it?
I think that happens to probably 99% of drivers at some point, right? Most drivers do not make a living being a pro driver.
Uh-huh. Is that a budgetary thing?
Well, so for me, it was a point where I needed to find a lot more sponsorship money to get to the next level. And then I had two kind of big crashes in back-to-back races. So it was like kind of like, maybe someone's trying to tell me something here.
Okay.
And that was when you were 23?
Yeah, 23.
Very good. Where were the crashes?
One was at Sebring. The other one was at Laguna Seca.
Ah, very good. Where at Sebring?
Turn 13.
13. Tower turn. Run wide at the exit or something go wrong going in?
Got kind of bumped on the inside, caught the curb, then caught the outside curb, somewhat sideways. So, went
hooked it to
over
the
sideways
inside
a couple times, yeah.
Oh, you tumbled?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Well, that can't be good. Do we have any footage of that we can overlay?
I don't.
Oh,
this was a while ago.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
Sebring, we all know Sebring is
Right.
bumpy, but turn 13 is also nasty. There's like if you
run out of room there,
Yeah.
there's a lot of grass over there, and you drop two tires off, bad things are going to happen.
That's the one turn that I had a few pro drivers tell me like you don't want to do heavy trail braking through there just because it's like a little off camber, I think it is, and it really upsets the car through there.
Right.
Then,
a lot of camber down at the apex, but going in. Right.
You have I haven't been there in a couple of years, so they might have repaved. I don't know.
No.
But
I can assure you decidedly that they have not repaved.
it used to have, I think it was old asphalt, new asphalt, then old asphalt again. It might be the other way around, but you're playing with the grip the whole time going through the corner.
Yes.
And the guy behind me got it wrong and little tap.
Just nudged you. And
Yep.
that's all it takes.
Episode 1, our first guest, David Maher, he was testing his new to him cup car, and he went into this guy has hundreds of laps, if not thousands of laps at Sebring in different race cars. So he's testing he told me, he said, I was just taking it easy. He goes into the braking zone at turn 7, the hairpin, the same way he always has with every other car, and the car just went whop. Yep. It didn't do what he was expecting. It's a different animal. The cup car is a different animal. And he went into the left side of the fence, which I thought was kind of weird.
No bueno.
Strange place, yeah. Let's talk about when Ferrari reached out to you. They reached out to you. They found you through LinkedIn.
Yes.
Was that a bit surreal, or
Yeah, for sure.
were you already thinking like I'm setting myself up for this type of opportunity?
No, not at all. I was kind of just being a driver coach. I was consulting with car manufacturers, doing a lot of product launches, dealership consulting. And I was perfectly happy doing that. I was working like 8 months a year, making pretty good amount of money. And I love traveling, so that was a big part of having the free time. I got a message, one day on LinkedIn going, "Hey, we have this open opportunity at Ferrari. Would you be interested?" It was from a headhunter. And I don't know about you guys on LinkedIn, but I get tons of random scammy DMs all the time. So I didn't really pay attention to it. And then I think he sent like 2 more messages after that. And I was like, maybe I'll call this guy back.
Yeah.
So that was probably about September, I think. And then ended up starting at Ferrari the next February 1st.
I'm going to go home and update my LinkedIn profile.
I already started. Up after you and I spoke on the phone. I was like, I got to pay attention to LinkedIn.
Skew this a little more heavy to the automotive side of what I spend my time doing, for sure.
I've had that conversation, a similar conversation in my mind, where I get a phone call from a famous driver, fill in the blank, right? Let's call it Tony Stewart. Hey, this is so and so, calling on behalf of Tony Stewart, and my reply would be,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Very funny. Goodbye. You know, this is when we still had phones like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Most people are gonna be like,
right. What is he
that?
doing?
Yeah.
Right.
This is me hanging up the phone. Do you miss racing?
Yes, very much so. I get a little bit of playtime these days, a little bit of track time. Sometimes I'll go do some hot laps for ride-alongs and whatnot. But yeah, I miss driving a lot.
Yeah. So were you doing in-car instructing as well when you were with Ferrari?
No. So the instructors, I would never get hired there. When with Corsa Pilota, the racing school, half the instructors are from Italy, the other half are from North America. So every group got one Italian, one from North America, and they all had to have won a championship of some type in order to qualify, basically, to be an instructor there. And the whole kind of, we're not just gatekeeping to gatekeep. Most of those clients who go racing and challenge, all the clients you're required to have a coach during your race weekends, and most of them end up meeting their coach during the Corsa Pilota process. So that's why we always wanted to make sure that the instructors at Corsa Pilota are capable of going with them all the way.
All right. I'm glad you brought up Corsa Pilota, because that was the next segment. We're going to talk about the real cost of luxury amateur racing. Let's talk about the money, because this is where most outsiders completely lose the plot. You and I talked about a full season in the Ferrari Challenge is about $1.2 million. And I'm assuming this is without crash damage.
A pretty minimal amount of crash damage, yeah.
Okay. What are customers actually paying for? Racing, access, status, or all the above?
All the above, for sure. And the car is in there in that kind of budget as well.
Okay. It's not their car.
It is their car.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
So that includes the purchase of the car.
Correct.
Oh.
And how much is the car of that 1.2?
500,000, I think, last time I looked.
What is that car?
Currently, it's a 296 Challenge.
Okay. Give me the specs on that, because I'm not familiar with that car.
Okay. It is based off the GT3, but kind of downgraded. But it is somehow faster because of no BOP. Looking at about 800 horsepower, naturally aspirated.
Goodness gracious.
How much do they weigh?
I don't know the answer to that. I used to. I don't know anymore.
It's got to be under 3,000, I would assume.
I guess with the 800 horsepower, probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's the more important.
We were doing tire testing, I remember, at Daytona, and they ran the Daytona race, I think, a month after we were there. And that car was 3 seconds a lot faster than the GT3 car around Daytona. Like,
really?
Properly quick. Now, of course, BOP, right?
Right.
With the GT3.
Right.
But, some of us were standing around going like, we let customers drive this? This is insane.
Should we be doing this?
It's a question I'm sure that those Italian and North American coaches that are sitting in the right seat ask themselves all the time.
Yeah,
Should I be sitting in this?
I've had that question a couple times, especially in the 296 GTB, the street car version of that. I remember doing it, we're doing racing school at Daytona, and the customers are doing 160, 165 down the back straight, and some of the instructors are getting out like,
I don't want to do that again.
Crap, this car's too fast.
Yeah.
The instructors are doing 100, probably 80 at the end of the straight with that car. It's an absolute missile.
At Daytona?
No, Coda.
Oh, Coda. Yeah. Yeah, actually.
You got a mile-ish long. I think it's a little bit over a mile back
crazy.
straight. So
that's crazy. So let's talk about Corso Pilota. Pilota, right?
Corsa Pilota.
Pilota. Each year, you and I talked about this. Roughly 500 to 600 customers go through there. Is that
They'll
correct?
probably do. Yeah, I would bet this year they'll do a little over 600. Yeah.
That's so for those that don't know, what is that?
Sure. That is the racing school program with Ferrari.
For Ferrari owners.
Correct. You have to be an owner in order to go.
Mike and I can't just show up and go, hey, I want to do the driving school.
I mean, it's pretty presumptuous of you that I don't own a Ferrari.
I know you don't own a Ferrari.
Touche.
But if you had a buddy who was a Ferrari owner and you wanted to go together, that's totally cool. So that's kind of one
really?
way. Yeah, people bring.
You can do a +1.
Yeah,
Oh,
people bring
nice.
their wives, their kids, their.
Do we have any
parents.
friends that have Ferraris?
I'm still not going. Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's a 3-step process essentially. So the first step is called Sport. It's about $20,000. 2 days in the GT 296 GTB. Second step is called Evoluzione Plus. 1 day in the street car, 1 day in the challenge car. That's about $30,000. And then the last.
These are the school cars, right?
Yeah, they're all Ferrari North America's cars.
Got it. Okay.
So your full service. Yeah, I could talk about that in a second, I guess. The last step is called Race. 2 days in the race car, about $40,000. And it's full service. Like you get yourself to the Welcome Hotel, and they do everything else. You get a welcome dinner, you get shuttled to and from the track, you get with the different steps, you get racing suit, you get a helmet, you get gloves, you get suit, shoes.
Back massages, spa time, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, depending on the location, yeah. We did that a lot for the plus ones.
So it changes location.
Yeah, we used to do 7 locations a year.
Okay.
I think they just wrapped up as of filming. They're in 10th Club in Charlotte at the moment. I
Okay.
think it's the last day today for them there.
And where else has it been held at?
We've done Daytona, we've done Thermal Club, Coda, Sonoma Raceway. We've done Tremblant is probably my most favorite location that we went to. Concord Club down the street here also. I think they're going to Homestead this year also.
Oh, really?
There's certainly a lot of Ferrari owners in the Miami area, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
Not that they're not traveling wherever they want to, but
Yeah. A lot of people would come. They would bring their, friends, their family, their kids. They would make a family activity out of it, and they would pick and choose kind of what location they wanted to go to. And outside of just North America, you can do Fiorano, you could do Portimao. They do a traveling program in Europe as well, and then they do kind of one-off. I would more so call it one-off locations in Asia and South America as well.
and at the end of that, if you do all that, it's a total of 6 days, right?
6 days.
So at the end of that, and you finish the 2-day race program, does that get you a license so that you can actually race in?
So you
Ferrari
have
Challenge?
to do 2 test days at 2 other locations, I think it was.
Okay.
So you're almost there. And then what most people would do is that outside of a challenge racing weekend, we had club challenge as well. So that's kind of just open lapping in a challenge car. So those would count as your test days also if you didn't want to do it separately. Just kind of depends on what you want to do.
So with travel and expenses, they're over $100,000 between those 3 2-day classes and then 2 test days. someplace.
Yeah, easily, yeah.
So do you still know anybody over at Corsa Pilota?
Yeah, I know a couple.
Yeah, I mean, here's an interesting idea, like if they wanted to invite us, Mike and I, we could do a show right down, Homestead is just down the street from us.
Absolutely.
If anybody wants to reach out to us, offtheracinglineline.com,
Good shout out.
we'll be happy to do a show down there.
Absolutely. That'd be great. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you and I talked about how not everybody that goes through the driving school actually come out the other end being racers. Only 15 to 25 actually become racers. Now, is that by choice?
Yeah, typically. A lot of those clients wanted to go, they've never driven on a track before. Hey, I want to be a safer driver in my Ferrari, my Missile, right? So yeah, the level 1 was probably more than 50. I would probably say about 50% of the clientele. And
Our typical HPDE, but
Right.
for Ferrari
to a
owners.
degree, yeah,
Yeah.
you could probably say that.
Okay.
Then you would typically see like 30% probably of that clientele go to Evoluzione Plus. And then you would see probably a pretty good amount, I would say 60% go to the race level.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of them just want to do it's just an activity. It's a fun
Well,
thing to do.
and good for them versus just
Absolutely.
trying it on the street. Like that's something that we talk about all the time in HPDE, right? Don't be an idiot and get out on I-95 or the Turnpike and drive like an idiot, right? Come, invest some money and do it the responsible way.
And people treat it as a vacation,
Right.
Which absolutely is.
You don't see a lot of like on YouTube, those fail videos of people leaving the car shows. There's not a lot of Ferrari owners doing that nonsense, but you're right. There is more and more BMW G80 M3s. Like that's becoming the new Mustang.
Your people are out of control. They need to be stopped.
That car just has too much power. These are guys and gals, I would imagine, that don't have any like real driving experience on the racetrack, and they just take the traction control off, and they're like, "Watch this," and then they end up in
the
tree.
famous last words. Watch this.
Yeah.
You'd think that every single person that does that has seen somebody else attempt it and it to end badly. So I don't know why people think that they're going to be.
Well, it's never going to happen to
if
them.
they've never tried it before themselves. Like,
Never going to happen to them.
I've never tried this, and I've seen a bunch of other people that have never tried it hit a tree, but I'm going to try. Yeah.
Good way to end up on YouTube if that's what you're looking for.
Tony, you were laughing a lot, man. Do you have friends that end up on YouTube?
No,
doing that?
I know exactly what you're talking about, though, and I always point and laugh and share them with my friends who are in the industry.
Yeah, what not to do.
Yeah.
This is a good example of why you should go get proper training, right?
Want to drive on a real racetrack but don't have a car? Velocity Track Experience offers track-ready car rentals for HPDE and racing. Whether you're flying in from out of state, out of the country, or you want full track support without worrying about prep, maintenance, or transport, this is your arrive and drive solution. From an agile Mazda MX-5 to a fully prepped BMW race car, Velocity provides everything you need to hit the track with confidence, including expert support and optional coaching. Just book your favorite track car, show up, and drive. Go to velocitytrackexperience.com and start your track adventure today.
Let's talk about the world outside of the car. You talked a little bit about that, the hospitality, the dinners, networking, and client entertainment. Talk us through that and give us sort of a deep dive on what that world really looks like, if you're allowed to.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'll start with Course Pelota. So you get a welcome dinner and then a dinner in between your first and second nights. And we would always put everyone on one giant table as much as possible because that way you're kind of forced to talk to people. So that creates a lot of friends. And you see a lot of people go to the sport level, make some friends, and then come back to Evo and race and do them together, which is awesome. In Challenge and Club Challenge in that world, every race weekend there is a evening event attached to that, usually on the Saturday night, typically Saturday night, sometimes Friday depending on location. It's always at somewhere incredible if it exists. Usually it's open bar to some degree. We have a musical, like some type of performance or some show thing, dinner of course, and everything obviously super top notch. Every location, we've done fireworks shows. We've done fighter jets over the track during the day. Evening events wise, we've done wineries. We've done yachts. I think the last thing I saw, they had the what's that jet ski pump thing where the guy's floating on the.
Oh yeah, the jetpack thing you're talking about.
They're attached to the feet though,
right?
So
And they're floating over the water. Right?
Yeah. So that they had that performance, I think, at the last location that I saw.
Yeah.
So it's always, we put a lot of effort into making sure that because these clients would come.
Unique.
Yeah.
Right.
These clients would come, 7 locations a year, and hopefully year over year. So every time they come, it was like, what's
Right, got to one up ourselves from the previous one. And it's not, I mean, these people obviously they come from means, so they're used to, they're not going on Carnival cruises, right? They've got their taste is a little bit more refined.
I think if you showed up with some, Subway subs, they might get disappointed.
Yeah, that would
right?
go super well, I think. Yeah.
You also talked about you talked a little bit about how the Ferrari Challenge and really just the whole school in general is a networking ecosystem, and you've seen some like crazy deals happen, which makes sense. What is the typical client? Are we talking dentists, attorneys? Like, who are they?
There's definitely a couple attorneys. I don't think I've seen a dentist.
'Cause I'm saying dentist because there was an overwhelming amount of jokes on
Regarding dentists?
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's a dentist,
I
series.
think it's more of like a Porsche GT3 thing, isn't it? That's a joke.
don't know. Is it?
But I mean, I would imagine the Ferrari. I mean, if you're talking about like, there's a difference between money, and
Right.
my guess is that the majority of them are
The latter.
right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
They're while dentists do very well for themselves. My guess is that these are more like captains of industry, started their own company.
Yes.
Come from have generational wealth sort of thing.
There's a lot of that. For
Right.
sure.
This is not, I make $500,000 or $600,000 a year thing. This is I make $5 or $6 million a year. Right.
I think it's the difference between, millionaires living in Palm Beach and billionaires living in Naples.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's
Two
correct.
different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of them, I would say most of them probably own their own business or company of some type. Sometimes it's family money. Sometimes it's a CEO or VP of Fortune 500 or something like that. Yeah.
So for the customers writing those checks, is it what's the real product? Is it the racing or is it just living in that ecosystem?
A little of both, I think for sure.
Right.
It depends on the client too. There's some clients who won't come to the evening events because they want to focus on their racing. So other clients, you see them as soon as they're out of the car on their last race, they've got a glass of champagne or having a party.
Yeah.
Those are my kind of people there.
Yeah.
Right?
The champagne people. Hey, I finished 17th out of 20th. Right.
I'm a race car driver.
Right. Where's my Grey Goose on the rocks?
Whatever makes you happy.
Right, exactly.
And then there was always hospitality setup was always insanity. Champagne, caviar, like buffet food. There's always a gelato cart and espresso, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever makes you happy, basically.
Listen, if you could live that lifestyle and drive that car, you're doing better than we are.
100%. Right. I mean,
yeah.
right. I mean, let's be honest. The only reason we're making fun of these people is because we would trade places with them in a second.
Yeah.
Right.
Very much so.
If I was with them, I'd still make fun of them.
Right.
I like to make fun of our own,
Don't worry. The only way you're getting there is if we get invited to do a podcast on location. So.
Yeah. Tony, let's make that happen. All right, buddy?
Dude, I don't work there anymore.
All right. Yeah, but you know people. Okay, let's jump to our next segment. Can money buy talent? Now, we already know the answer to that. We know the answer is no, but it can absolutely open doors, right? So I want to dive into that because I know it's an ongoing joke, like money can't buy talent. Let's talk about what money actually buys, right? It buys a lot of seat time. It buys expert coaching. What else do you see money, I think, accelerating for these drivers?
Sure. I think you literally can have unlimited testing and track time and seat time. You can have fresh tires every time you get in a car. So that's
Crazy, right? How nice would that be?
Yeah, top tier coaching, GPX live stream coaching. You can travel. Some of those clients travel and race both in North America and in Europe and in Asia. Like they make racing their life, which is awesome. But it opens a lot of opportunities, I think. I mean, for me, racing is one of those things, it takes you 10 years of seat time to get good at.
Right.
So if you start at 55, 45, whatever it is, like you spend 10 years going at it properly, you will be properly quick.
Yeah.
And is that about the age group that most of the drivers?
That's probably, I would say there's probably two groups of age groups. One is probably in that 45, 50-ish range. There's a couple who are older. I think they still do, a trophy called Gentleman's Cup. So it was the over 65 winner. So there's a few of those for sure. And then you have the 20 to 30, I bet, in that bracket.
20 to 30-year-olds?
20 to 30-year-olds, yeah.
Those are the people that bought 5 Bitcoin
Yes.
in 1979,
Right.
and now
Yep. There's a couple who, Bitcoin people, or like, I remember one guy has a business selling sneakers. Apparently that's a thing. Some of it comes from family money for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them successful doing whatever they do. They've made it. They've done well.
So not only, I mean, I guess just to drive the point home, right? It's not just an enormous amount of seat time that they're getting, expert equipment, awesome tires, but it's also the coaching behind it, right? Like you get out of the car and you have somebody a proper coach, just going through the data and walking you through that. So even for some, I think most people, that would take 10 years, like you said, to get really good at that sport. That could be, reduced just by constant coaching and then application of that coaching.
Sure, yeah. The coaching really there is really, really top notch. Like you'll see Daytona 24 winners, IndyCar winners. I remember making a joke one time, like at a dinner for Corsa Pelota, like there was, I think 3 Daytona watches in the room, like out of the instructors. Like
Really?
yeah, where can you see that normally, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and they're all required to be there with you the whole weekend, and they do their test sessions with you. Typically, you have like your guy, right, or gal, and they get coaching constantly. Like they get GPX in the car, so your coach is watching on an iPad what you're doing in the car all the time and constantly talking to you.
Nice. Have you seen amateur drivers get so much coaching and repetition that they become legitimately quick?
Yeah, I was talking about that guy who went to, I'm not going to name drop him, but ended up going racing at Daytona and being literally half a second off from the factory driver. So
Yeah.
properly quick. There's a few guys and one gal who now race in GT America, European version of the SRO GT series, ELMS, ALMS. Yeah, some of those guys. Micah Cooper was a Ferrari Challenge champion who won Daytona 24. Yeah, there's some people who are properly quick after that.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think I know the answer to this. What separates the rich guy who stays mediocre from the rich guy who becomes truly dangerous?
Dangerous in like a bad way or a good way?
Dangerous, like fast.
Okay. It's the mindset, I think, that they approach every weekend. There's some guys who are there, and gals, who just are there to have a good time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they don't really take the data and the coaching and whatnot seriously. They're just there to be safe. Cool. Some of them are super, super competitive and super, super into it. Mm-hmm. And usually you see that person progress rather quickly.
Yeah. I would imagine it's just the person that dedicates time to it to learn that craft, just like anything else.
Well, and I mean, you have to have a certain amount of natural talent also, right? You commented earlier that, all the money in the world can't buy talent, right? You have to have at least some talent to be able to take advantage of that coaching and the opportunities. Like if you're just bad at it, right? If you just lack hand-eye coordination, if your vision just doesn't work that way, all the coaching in the world isn't going to help.
But it'll make you better.
Right. It'll make you better, right? But my guess is those people that climb to the top have at least some innate natural ability to do it, or they're just more receptive to coaching. They've got better hand-eye coordination, something along that lines, and the drive to actually want to take advantage of what the people are telling them, the coaches that are in the right seat or behind the iPad, and actually implement it instead of just driving around for a good time.
Yeah. That is, I think, one of the better aspects, or probably the best aspect for a Ferrari Challenge weekend for me. If you look at the other kind of gentleman series that exist in North America, Super Trofeo, I think Ford does a series now, McLaren does a series trophy. They're always attached to an SRO or an IMSA weekend. So they're a support race.
Right.
So they get their 90-minute test session, and then they get their 30-minute race, whatever it happens to be. And that's kind of all the seat time you get. With Challenge, it's almost always been a standalone weekend. So we could always control the total flow of the weekend, and everyone gets a lot more seat time. And the only time we're not a standalone race, we were a support race for Montreal F1 and Vegas, 24, I think it was, first ever support race at that track.
All right, let's close it out with a segment that I'm going to call the final truth. Are amateurs good for the sport?
Yes.
Of course they are. We need them.
Yes.
We need that money in motorsports. Otherwise, a lot of these series aren't going to happen. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, like 99% of racing drivers don't make a living racing. Right. Yeah, so many teams, so many series would not exist without the gentleman
Drivers.
Gentleman and lady driver.
Right.
I don't know what the correct term for that is.
And you can bet lady, right? And you can back that all the way up even to HPDE, right? HPDE organizations wouldn't exist without the person that's coming to the track for the first time.
Yes.
Right. It's a ladder, right? You've got, all right, so we'll get 15 beginners out at Sebring on any given day. And 5 years from then, there are 3 or 4 of them left driving, right? But the only way you're going to populate those intermediate group and those advanced groups where the people are consistently coming to an event every month as often as they can, like those people came from somewhere. Everybody's track day was their first track day at some point in time. So without that ladder system with new people coming, people age out of this hobby. Well, people age out of everything eventually, right? So the only way to keep filling that funnel is with somebody that's never done it before. And that, that person, they come to their first HPD event, they like it, they become an intermediate driver, an advanced driver, and then, those are the people that go, oh, let's start doing time trial. And then you get sort of bored with time trial and let me try my hand at this wheel-to-wheel thing, right? You can't get anywhere without somebody that is a beginner/amateur at what they're doing.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? We kind of circling back to the beginning where we talked about that clip that started a storm on Instagram about, rich people cosplaying as racers. You answered the call, which was, to me, it was worth, all the debate and name calling that we were getting thrown at, in our direction on that post, because you came out and you said, hey, I want to come and talk about this. We had 2 other people that also reached out, and one of those topics and they're coming in a couple of weeks. They want to talk about the money in motorsports, and sort of like really do a deep dive on what's going on with a lot of tracks going, private now, how they believe, and I don't want to dive into it right now because that's going to be a whole other episode, but basically how, the bottom's going to fall out if we keep doing that. Essentially, back to your point, is if we stop bringing in, beginner drivers, how do you think that the sport is going to continue to grow if we stop that?
Sure, COTA going private, right? How many people got their first experience? How many people that are now going to a chin track days all over the country had their first experience at COTA?
Right.
And you take that experience, or you take that option away. What
was the other one? I think Pitt was another one, wasn't it?
Well, Pitt is gone. Yeah, they just sold Pitt Race.
I thought
the track's not going to exist anymore.
Oh, interesting.
That's a whole separate, Amazon Web Services conversation.
Yeah.
The track is not going to operate anymore. But yeah, there's Thermal, COTA, Flat Rock in Tennessee, right? There are quite a few of them. And look, it's a great business model if it works. And time will tell.
I love that place.
Flat Rock?
No, Thermal.
Oh, Thermal? Never been.
Let's close out the segment with this question. What do critics get wrong about this side of the sport or industry in terms of money?
Things would not just work, right, without that money. And I think with the rise of, like, say, Drive to Survive, I see it in the karting series now, I think. In my day, you would show up with a minivan with your stuff in it, like going karting. These days, there's full-on RVs and helicopters and trailers going to a kart race because mommy and daddy have done well in whatever that they do, and like my kid's going to be the next F1 driver, which is awesome, but it also has now increased, I think, the cost to be competitive quite significantly. So it's a bit of a catch-22, I think, for sure.
Keeps raising the bar.
Yeah.
It seems like karting would be like a fun way to get started in the sport that was relatively low cost, and now it's like becoming prohibitive.
Well, and the problem there is, right, this is a sport that largely comes down to the stopwatch, right? The stopwatch doesn't lie. And, 30 years ago, if you were an average Joe and you pulled up in your minivan and you had your cart and you went out and you ran all race weekend on the same set of tires because that's what everybody did, hey, come Sunday afternoon, everybody's playing the same game. Now people with their RV and their helicopter come in and they're putting a fresh set of tires on, for every single session. We know just from, HPDE stuff, let alone racing, that, those tires are falling off a couple of tenths of a second with every heat cycle. So by the end of the race weekend, the equipment itself is costing you a second and a half.
Yeah.
And in a hobby / sport where tenths of a second matter, a second and a half a lap is, you just stand no chance.
All right, Tony, we're going to move over to my favorite segment, which is the rapid fire question segment. This is where we try to make it rapid. So we try to emphasize that with every guest. So I'm going to shoot some questions your way, try to fire them off the answer as quickly as possible. Are you ready?
Sure.
Feel free to take as much time as you want, by the way.
All right, here we go. Number one, what is your favorite racetrack?
To drive on or to attend?
To drive on.
Laguna, probably.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Now I want a follow-up question. What about to attend?
Depends on the series, too. Coda's great. Vegas, F1 is incredible. As a fan, I think. It's so convenient.
You're down here for the Miami Grand Prix this weekend.
Yeah. Well, Vegas, the track is great. I think they do it here at the wrong time of year. For me, I would switch the Miami race and the Vegas race for timing-wise, calendar-wise, just for the temperature.
They moved this race up, I think, right? It used to be in June, so at least they moved it up to the beginning of May to make it a little bit more tolerable.
And right now we have like great weather.
Not awful.
It's nice this year so far, and fingers crossed. But Vegas race gets to like 30 degrees during the race time.
Way too late.
Way too cold.
Right.
But it's super convenient. You have, 30,000 hotel rooms or something, whatever that number is. Yeah. Within 3-minute walk of the track, it's fantastic. Super convenient.
Back to your rapid fire question.
Okay, rapid fire question.
Ruined it.
All right, so number two, what is the best car you've ever driven?
Six months ago, he would have said a Ferrari, but now he's actually thinking about it.
I'm still... The 296 Challenge car is properly great, and I think the street car is probably the one I would end up getting, even though it's like their entry level, if you will. It's just an absolute missile and rather four square almost, wheelbase wise.
Right. All right. Number three, you've worked with BMW, Porsche, and Ferrari. Which drivers are the most douchey and which are the least?
So I had this impression, like having worked with AMG and Porsche and BMW before going to Ferrari, I had this impression of like they were on average slightly douchey, I think.
All of them?
Yeah, to a degree.
Okay.
And for me, when I went to Ferrari, I was expecting that level of douchey, but turned up, right? They have more money, they have more wealth, they can do whatever they want.
Right.
And it was totally the opposite. I think that was probably the biggest surprise for me going to work at Ferrari. Yes, there's a few, of course, who are not so pleasant to deal with. But the vast majority of them are like the nicest, coolest people like I've probably ever.
So out of all the brands that you've worked with in terms of car manufacturers, which drivers are the douchiest and which are the least douchey?
This is how I get murdered on the internet. I'm gonna say BMW.
Yes.
Are the least?
No,
the most.
The most. Come on.
Really? Well, big shocker there.
Right. Look in the mirror. I mean.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Look in the mirror.
Well,
I'm about as down to earth as they come. Okay, so BMW most douchey. I mean, there's probably hundreds of memes about that, so no big surprise. So least would be Ferrari.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Interesting.
We had this running joke. Yes, I'm ruining this rapid fire thing again. We had this running joke about and for me also, I only dealt with the motorsport client also, right? I'd never really dealt with the sales client. So the client who bought their one and only Ferrari. Typically, our clients 4+. So again, a very different level of wealth from that one Ferrari owner. And we had this kind of running joke, like when you got to like 50 million plus net worth, like life is good. You know, there's nothing really worth proving or to having to be hard to deal with. Like
That makes a lot of sense. But when you're like trying to get there, you have to kind of put on this bravado, right?
Right,
well,
exactly.
I think it's a little different, right? When you bought your first Ferrari, you probably just reached a childhood dream and you think you've made it in life. And then as you accumulate more wealth, you realize like, oh, life is pretty good, but still just living life. Like,
Right.
it's not a big deal, right?
Sure. All right, let's continue. Number 4, in Ferrari Challenge, what gets someone kicked out of the paddock faster? Bad driving or being insufferable?
If you're insufferable, we probably wouldn't have let you get to Ferrari Challenge. Bad driving will also get you kicked out, though.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Number 5, would you rather coach a humble, slow driver or a fast, rich asshole?
Humble, slow one.
Yeah.
Though they're for me, it's not fast or slow. It's the one who will listen and be coachable.
Sure.
You're also much less likely to die
That's
with
very true.
somebody that's humble and slow than somebody.
Yeah, but he doesn't do any coaching in car, right?
I haven't done coaching in a very long time, so I'm trying to keep it that way.
Yeah, we're learning. Number 6, have you ever met someone in motorsport and instantly thought, this guy has money, but absolutely no business being here? Maybe not?
No, probably not.
Really?
Yeah.
You've been around some good people then?
Yeah.
Good. What about you, Mike? I'll turn the question over to you. You've seen a lot of new drivers at the track.
I got to tell you, and we've had this conversation before, like 99.9% of the people that come fall under that, humble and slow category versus the obnoxious. Yeah, it really...
A lot of them do get humbled at the track anyway.
Right. I mean, I've been with people that before I got in the car, that sort of pre-event communication, I thought to myself, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
And after the end of lap 2, it quickly, they realized that if they really want to get the most out of the day, they should probably listen to what you're telling them to do.
I've had kind of similar experiences, for sure. Like at the welcome dinner, you're chatting with somebody and you're like, this guy's going to be a problem. I think. But they were just having a good time at dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've never had anyone be like, all right, this person's actually a problem.
Right. Especially after they get in the car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, number 7. If you dropped the average Ferrari Challenge driver, into a Spec Miata for one race, who would humble who?
I have no idea.
No?
There's such a big delta within the challenge paddock. You have some of those guys at the very tip who are and gals, sorry.
Right.
Who are properly quick. And we break it up into 4 different classes for that reason. They're not racing people who are like that, for the guys who just want to have fun. And some people are, not that quick, but they're racing against other people who are not that quick. So it all works out. But genuinely, I don't really know. They're probably more used to having 800 horsepower under their foot. So
it's a different
driving style.
Yeah. Way different.
I don't know. That's hard.
What do you think, Mike?
I mean, the Spec Miata is like a whole different, like it's such a strange animal. You've got 30, 40 cars in the field and they're all bunched up together. My guess is that would probably be a little bit intimidating, right? Because how you said the Ferrari Challenge is broken up into sort of those 4 different subclasses.
Sure.
Right.
But you're looking at about, these days, probably about 30 cars per class.
Okay.
There's probably 30 cars on track at a time.
There's probably not a lot of door banging and bump drafting in Ferrari Challenge either. Really? Okay.
We need to go to, hopefully we'll see for ourselves how it all starts in Homestead.
Properly
somebody.
speaking, like most of the time, if I'm sitting at a challenge race and watching the racing, I'm going, wow, that was well done. Yes, occasionally there are times where we're like, well, that was really dumb.
Right.
But you see that in pro racing too.
Everything, sure. We got a whole new respect for Ferrari Challenge. Right? We owe Instagram an apology.
No apologies.
I tried.
No apologies
I tried.
given.
If I was going to be a fan also, right, going to a race weekend to be a spectator, Ferrari Challenge, some of the race weekends are free. Some of them are $30, and you have open access everywhere, except for hospitality, right?
Right.
You have open access to all the teams. You can kind of wander in the garages, bring your daughter. She can sit in the cars. They'll probably let her. You can be on pit lane, not during hot sessions, but like you can
Grid walks and that kind of
you can be
stuff.
on the grid for grid walks, and they'll sing the anthem and have fighter planes and fireworks, whatnot. Overhead. Like it's a great experience to me.
It's probably cooler to do that at a Ferrari Challenge race than a Spec Miata race.
Yes.
Probably, yes.
And then walking through the paddock, if I didn't tell you it wasn't a GT3 level race, you wouldn't know. Right. Like it's professional teams, professional mechanics. They're being run professionally. It is you wouldn't know the difference.
All right, let's continue. I wrote this next question purely for Instagram, so bear with me. Are Ferrari owners the wine snobs of the world?
Sounds like BMW owners are from his previous.
No, that's the douchey drivers, the wine snobs. We know that it's not Ferrari based on what you told us. So who would be the wine snobs of the car world?
I guess I would say the Porsche customer.
Hey. Wow.
Really?
It's hard to say. Some of the Ferrari clients are along those lines, but I don't see a lot of them at motorsports events.
Right.
Because more of the wine snob people are the ones who bring their car to Cars and Coffee once a week and like stand around and look, look how perfect this car is.
Right.
Whereas the racing customer is...
We're a different breed.
It's a different client. And like I don't have that much experience with the non-motorsport Ferrari client.
Sure.
So that's all I got for you.
Okay. Let's move on. Number 9, coming from the Ferrari universe, what do you think of the mid-engine Corvette Z06?
I've driven it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It weighs a lot.
How does it compare to, a Ferrari?
Very different, very, very different driving style. I've only really been in a 296 GTB in Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
The 296, well, both of them are very, very pointy on the front end. The Corvette is not. It was much more understeery, and it liked to kick the rear end out. It's a very different driving, and it's also massive in comparison.
Yeah. I drove a C8 non-Z06 at Homestead, actually, and I was underwhelmed with the mid-range power. I was like expecting a little more, but that wasn't the Z06.
But also the price point in comparison is rather big difference.
Right. All right, let's finish up the segment with the last question. Free dinner, open bar, great food, but you have to sit with either Ferrari, Porsche, BMW, or Lamborghini owners all night. Which table do you skip?
Do I skip?
Yeah.
Not the one with Sydney Sweeney, huh?
We skipped the Sydney Sweeney.
No Sydney Sweeney question?
No. Sydney Sweeney is not in this
disappointed.
table or any of the tables, so I apologize for that.
That would have been an easy choice.
Yes. That would have been
I've
too easy.
spent a lot of dinners with Ferrari clients, and 99.9% of the time, it's been an awesome time.
So what table would you skip?
I might have to say BMW.
I was just going to say, we're just going to keep piling on the BMW.
Yeah.
people.
This is going to be the BMW hate episode. We've already had a few of those. We're going to have to rectify that.
Most of them are.
That is not true, Mike.
You know.
All right, so you're skipping the BMW table. Oh, well, good enough. That is all the time we have, Tony. Thank you so much for flying in to see us. I know you're here for the Miami Grand Prix, but you still made a pit stop over here in Boca Raton at Podcast Junkie Studios, who do a fantastic job putting this whole thing together. Mike, thank you so much for joining us once again. So, Tony, remember, everything interesting happens off the racing line. See you guys next time.
Everything interesting happens off the racing line. I took the hard road. I've earned these stripes. The road from dreamer to driver ain't always straight. where my story